Hello, here we are back at the portrait, and I've just changed to a smaller bristle brush now, because having put in these lines with the two more traditional synthetic and a sable brush, I need to get back into this dry brush scumbling business just to finalise the highlights on the face before we finish off the eyes and the clothing and the hair. So I'm going to go back to my flesh colour here. There's probably still quite a bit left on the mixing palette, but let's mix up a little bit more so it's brown, touch of red. When you're mixing paint, here's a really good tip. Don't just mix one great big puddle of it, because you can chase yourself around for hours and hours and not end up with the right one. Mix an area where you're introducing a selection of colour, so you can proportion each into a central mixing area. Then you get by with just enough and not put the rest of it down the drain. So getting back to a light flesh colour, umber, red, Naples yellow and some white. Now this is a smaller brush, so I've got to be careful I haven't filled it with paint too much. And let's give it a go in the margin there. Test it on the chin. Not significantly lighter, so let's go a little bit lighter than that. A bit of white. And then let's look for the final highlights. So I can switch the light on. Isn't it great being an artist? You know, I can switch the light on with just some ground up pigments on some hairs on the end of a stick. Magic really, isn't it? Right, and then let's take this brightness, illuminating that side of the nose up towards the bridge, out onto the, let's go slightly lighter with that because the darker paint is working down the brush, out onto that cheek, and as this is slightly lighter, let's go back on the nose as well. That really throws that forward. Not so much over here this time, just where the light's skimming across the nose and picking up part of the cheek. A little bit on that crease there. The shelf of the lower lid. A little bit on the upper lid. A nice bright highlight on that lid that side. A fold in the skin above. A little bit up there. Bottom lid. We really are starting to peer through into the windows of the soul here now, aren't we? Okay. And then down under this eye, picking up the brightness in the folds of the skin down this side of the face. A little bit on the tip of the nose next to the nostril there, down the edge of the face on these lovely craggy bits of skin here, up towards the mouth, a little bit more lightness coming back into that paint again, so that we can pick up the highlight on the bottom lip. A little bit on the top, just letting the almost dry brush scuff onto the surface of the paper here. Just squinting my eyes now and again to make sure I've picked up most of the illuminated areas. The centre of the nose, up onto the brow ridges a bit, up onto the centre of the forehead a bit, and I think we're pretty much there with that detail. So my next job is actually to set up some new darkness in the background. I'm working my way from dark to light with the clothing. But in conjunction with doing that, I'm going to put some very dark sections into where the eyes are. So a lot more ultramarine and burnt umber. And using this synthetic brush that comes to a point, I'm going to look at the shape of the spaces I need for where the eyes are. So it defines the overhang of that brightness I did for the... I'm looking at the nature of the line, so I'm starting at the edge of the eye where we've got a little craggy downhill, and then I'm just going to lay the brush in to form that pocket of darkness where we can see through to just a bit of the eye there, and then taking that up and over and down towards the tear duct. So we set up a very dark space for where the eye is. I'm going to go a little bit more with ultramarine there, or sorry, ultramarine in the mix, because that's a little bit on the brown side for me. Then we come over to this side of the picture, and bearing in mind the tilt of the picture, let's block in where that other eye is. Now we haven't got such a defined lower lid on this side because we've got this kind of roomy, moist area going on, but we have got this little kind of dark wing coming down towards the edge of the eye and being lost out the side of the picture here. Right, that'll do for that. Don't need any more darkness in the nose, just a touch with that nostril, maybe a touch that side. And then making up rather a lot of this, let's use a big floppy brush for this. So I'm going to mix up a lot of ultramarine with my burnt umber to give myself a really dark grey shade colour, and then we're just going to drop in the shade around the garment and the hood. Just pushing in those dark areas. So this is just a mixture of umber and ultramarine. Coming in fairly close to the edge of the face here, pushing that shadow in of the hood there. Wrapping that round. You see where we've got the illumination of the hair there? We need something behind the hair to illuminate it against. Look at the sort of flowing shape of the garment out over that side, wrapping in, down and back, over the top here, further up, and then draping back across, further out, round and in. And then a big swathe of fabric coming across. Actually, you can see that the umber and the ultramarine is not evenly mixed here, which is quite nice because it's given me a broken colour across the fabric here. Come up high enough next to the nose for that. Drape back across the shoulder. Now, have we got the head here big enough? I think maybe we go a bit larger than that. More ultramarine required. So if we measure from the chin to the eye line, we've then got the same measurement from the eye line to the top of the head. Let's do that again. 1, 2. Test it on ours. 1, 2. Not quite high enough. So let's go up there. And we've got enough room for the head. Push that out a bit. Drop that down on that side. And we've got the bones of the garment there.